Dad's Army is one of Britain's most beloved sitcoms, but behind the laughs lies a poignant truth. Many of its iconic cast members have now passed away. In this tribute, we look back at 34 unforgettable actors from the series, celebrating the lives they lived, the characters they brought to life, and the legacies they left behind. From Mainwaring's stiff upper lip to Jones's frantic catchphrases, join us in honoring the real people behind the platoon and discover where their stories led after the cameras stopped rolling. John Le Mesurier portrayed Sergeant Arthur Wilson in Dad's Army, 1968, when he was 56 years old. Wilson is the effortlessly charming, slightly vague deputy to Captain Mainwaring, whose genteel manners and private school accent contrast sharply with the rigid command structure. Calm, thoughtful, and often seen as Pike's unofficial father, Wilson often resolves conflicts with quiet authority. His dry wit and non-confrontational nature made him one of the series' most beloved characters. In real life, John Le Mesurier was known for his understated performances and long film career, often playing upper-class Englishmen. His private life included a complex marriage to comedienne Hattie Jacques, during which he quietly tolerated her long-term affair. Le Mesurier continued acting into the early 1980s, maintaining his reputation as one of Britain's most refined comic actors. He died of cirrhosis of the liver on November 15, 1983, at the age of 71. His final words, "It's all been rather lovely," reflected the gentle humor and grace he brought to the screen. Clive Dunn portrayed Lance Corporal Jack Jones in Dad's Army, 1968, when he was 48 years old. Though much younger in real life, Dunn convincingly played the excitable elderly butcher and former British Army veteran. Jones is famous for shouting, "Don't panic," at the worst possible moments, and for his endless tales of past wars against enemies like the Fuzzy Wuzzies. Fiercely loyal and unexpectedly brave, Jones brings physical comedy and heart to the platoon. Clive Dunn had real wartime experience, serving in World War II and spending years as a prisoner of war in Austria. After the war, he trained in acting and later found fame with Dad's Army, followed by a chart-topping novelty song, Grandad, in 1970. He eventually retired to Portugal, enjoying a quiet life away from fame. Dunn died on November 6, 2012, at the age of 92 from complications following surgery. His portrayal of Jones remains a cherished part of British television history, remembered fondly by multiple generations. Arthur Lowe portrayed Captain George Mainwaring in Dad's Army, 1968, when he was 53 years old. Mainwaring is the pompous, fiercely patriotic bank manager who appoints himself leader of the Walmington-on-Sea Home Guard. He insists on strict discipline and military formality, though his blunders often undermine his authority. Despite his bluster, Mainwaring has genuine courage and a sense of duty, often putting himself at risk to protect his men. His mismatched rivalry with the laid-back Sergeant Wilson adds a perfect comedic counterbalance. In real life, Arthur Lowe was already a seasoned stage and television actor before Dad's Army made him a household name. His dry delivery and distinct voice became hallmarks of British comedy. Lowe battled narcolepsy throughout his career, but rarely let it interfere with his performances. He died from a stroke on April 15, 1982, at the age of 66 while touring with a play. His portrayal of Captain Mainwaring remains one of the most iconic roles in British sitcom history. John Laurie portrayed Private James Fraser in Dad's Army, 1968, when he was 71 years old. Fraser is the platoon's dour Scottish undertaker, famous for his wild-eyed gloom and catchphrase, "We're doomed." Though often critical of authority and prone to dramatics, Fraser is deeply loyal when it matters. His tales from sea life and mistrust of others add a darker, eccentric humor to the group. In real life, John Laurie was a classically trained actor and a veteran of the Royal Flying Corps during World War I. He built a strong reputation in Shakespearean theater and starred in over 100 films, including Alfred Hitchcock's The 39 Steps, 1935. Laurie's dramatic gravitas added weight to Dad's Army's comedy, and he often spoke proudly of his Scottish heritage. He died on June 23, 1980, at the age of 83 from emphysema. Despite his many serious roles, he is best remembered for bringing both intensity and hilarity to the role of Private Fraser. Ian Lavender portrayed Private Frank Pike in Dad's Army, 1968, when he was just 22 years old. Pike is the baby of the platoon, naive, excitable, and overly protected by his doting mother. Often referred to as "stupid boy" by Captain Mainwaring, Pike's childish innocence and tendency to blurt out secrets make him the comic foil in many episodes. His implied relationship with Sergeant Wilson adds subtle depth to the show's family dynamics. Ian Lavender was the youngest main cast member, and Dad's Army marked his breakthrough role. He later appeared in numerous television series, including EastEnders, and continued working on stage and screen for decades. Lavender survived a serious cancer diagnosis in the 1990s and a heart attack in 2004, but made a strong recovery. As of now, he is the last surviving main cast member. His portrayal of Pike remains one of the most iconic man-child roles in British comedy. Arnold Ridley portrayed Private Charles Godfrey in Dad's Army, 1968, when he was 72 years old. Godfrey is the sweet-natured, gentle medic of the platoon, elderly, soft-spoken, and often excusing himself due to his little problem. Despite his frailty, he once saved Captain Mainwaring's life, revealing he had been a decorated stretcher-bearer in the Great War. His quiet bravery and kind heart made him a fan favorite. In real life, Arnold Ridley served in World War I and suffered multiple wounds that plagued him for life. Before acting, he wrote the hit play The Ghost Train, 1923, which brought him early fame. Despite severe war injuries, he returned to the stage and screen, earning a place in British households through Dad's Army. He died peacefully on March 12, 1984, at the age of 88. His life embodied resilience and humility, mirrored in his beloved portrayal of Godfrey, a character of quiet dignity and courage. Bill Pertwee portrayed Chief ARP Warden Hodges in Dad's Army, 1968, when he was 41 years old. Hodges is the platoon's loudmouthed nemesis, a sneering, bombastic air raid precautions officer who constantly goads Captain Mainwaring. Though not truly villainous, his rivalry with the Home Guard forms a running gag throughout the series. Hodges represents petty wartime bureaucracy and civic pride run amok, yet he occasionally reveals a more human side. In real life, Bill Pertwee came from a family with military roots and began acting after serving in the RAF. He became a staple of British comedy, appearing in radio, stage, and television, and later wrote several books about Dad's Army. He remained active in fan events and nostalgic programming. Pertwee died peacefully on May 27, 2013, at the age of 86. Though he played a constant antagonist, he was beloved by fans for his booming voice, slapstick energy, and perfect foil to the pompous Mainwaring. James Beck portrayed Private Joe Walker in Dad's Army, 1968, when he was 39 years old. Walker is the platoon's charming black market spiv, street-smart, fast-talking, and always ready with a bargain. His entrepreneurial antics frequently clash with Mainwaring's rules, but his resourcefulness often proves essential to the platoon's success. With his trilby hat and cheeky grin, Walker represented a different kind of wartime spirit, practical, irreverent, and unfazed by authority. James Beck brought incredible vitality to the role, quickly becoming a fan favorite. He had trained at RADA and built a promising TV career before Dad's Army. Tragically, Beck's life was cut short at the height of his fame. He died on August 6, 1973, aged just 44, from pancreatitis brought on by heavy drinking. His sudden passing left a notable gap in the show, and the character was respectfully written out. Beck's performance remains one of Dad's Army's most memorable, a symbol of wartime wit and resilience. Janet Davies portrayed Mrs. Mavis Pike in Dad's Army, 1968, when she was 40 years old. Mavis Pike is the overprotective, unseen mother of young Private Frank Pike. Though rarely shown on screen, her domineering presence is felt throughout the series, especially through Sergeant Wilson's sheepish reactions, hinting at a possible romantic link and secret parentage of Pike. When she does appear, she's portrayed as proper, fussy, and devoted to her son's well-being. Janet Davies gave the character a quiet strength and comic subtlety, making her brief appearances impactful. Outside Dad's Army, Davies had a varied acting career in television and theater, including roles in The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin and Doctor Who. Sadly, her career was cut short when she passed away from breast cancer on September 22, 1986, at the age of 59. Despite limited screen time, her portrayal of Mrs. Pike became a crucial piece in the show's interpersonal web. Frank Williams portrayed Reverend Timothy Farthing in Dad's Army, 1969, when he was 37 years old. Reverend Farthing is the polite, sometimes flustered vicar of St. Aldhelm's, whose church is regularly commandeered by the Home Guard. He walks a tightrope between respectability and exasperation as the platoon disrupts his parish life. His dry reactions and nervous diplomacy offer subtle comedic contrast to the show's louder characters. In real life, Frank Williams had a long acting career, frequently cast as vicars or bureaucrats due to his refined demeanor. Beyond Dad's Army, he appeared in You Rang, My Lord, and other BBC sitcoms. Williams was also a devout Christian and committed supporter of religious theater. He passed away on June 26, 2022, at the age of 90. Though his character was more supporting, Williams's contributions added crucial texture and gentle humor to the world of Dad's Army. Harold Bennett portrayed Mr. Blewett in Dad's Army, 1969, when he was 70 years old. Mr. Blewett is one of Walmington-on-Sea's elderly townsfolk, often seen commenting on the platoon's antics or popping up in the church or community scenes. Known for his frail build and elderly demeanor, Bennett brought charm and realism to the aging characters of the wartime home front. In real life, Harold Bennett began acting professionally later in life, following a career as a civil servant. He became a late-blooming star in British comedy, most notably as young Mr. Grace in Are You Being Served? Despite his age, he worked steadily through the 1970s, delighting audiences with his slow, creaky delivery and impeccable timing. He passed away on September 15, 1981, at the age of 82, after suffering a heart attack. Bennett's performances remain endearing examples of understated, scene-stealing comedy. Robert Raglin portrayed the colonel in Dad's Army, 1970, when he was 61 years old. As the platoon's commanding officer, the colonel oversees Captain Mainwaring with a mix of bemusement and mild disapproval. Representing upper-class military tradition, his brief appearances add a note of contrast to Mainwaring's self-important leadership. With clipped tones and an air of detachment, the colonel reminds viewers of the strict British hierarchy still in place during wartime. Robert Raglin was a prolific character actor with dozens of credits in British film and television. Often cast as authority figures, policemen, or soldiers, he brought gravitas to every scene he entered. Though never a household name, Raglin was a dependable presence in post-war British media. He died on April 18, 1985, at the age of 76. His role in Dad's Army, though minor, helped to solidify the show's military authenticity and comedic structure. John Ringham portrayed Captain Bailey in Dad's Army, 1968, when he was 40 years old. Captain Bailey appears as a regular Army officer whose authority briefly supersedes Mainwaring's, creating tension and embarrassment for the self-appointed Home Guard leader. Though a minor role, Bailey represents the contrast between real military command and the enthusiastic amateurs of Walmington-on-Sea. John Ringham, a classically trained actor, brought discipline and sharp comic timing to his brief appearance. He was a familiar face on British television, especially in Shakespearean adaptations, and starred in The Good Life, Some Mothers Do 'Ave 'Em, and several Doctor Who episodes. His career stretched over 5 decades, earning respect for his professionalism and versatility. He passed away on October 20th, 2008, at the age of 80. Though his role in Dad's Army was short, Ringham's crisp, authoritative performance added a memorable foil to the platoon's bumbling operations. Wendy Richard portrayed Edith Parrish in Dad's Army, 1970, when she was 27 years old. Edith Parrish is a young, self-assured woman working at the local cinema, featured in the episode Mum's Army, where the platoon experiments with including women in their ranks. Though her role is brief, Richard brings a modern energy that contrasts with the older, traditional male cast. Her appearance hinted at changing gender roles and social dynamics during wartime. In real life, Wendy Richard became one of Britain's most recognizable TV actresses, starring as Miss Brahms in Are You Being Served? And later as Pauline Fowler in EastEnders, a role she played for over 2 decades. She was awarded an MBE in 2000 for services to drama. Richard was diagnosed with breast cancer in the 1990s and bravely battled the illness until her passing on February 26, 2009, at the age of 65. Her charisma and screen presence left a lasting legacy in British television history. Talfran Thomas portrayed Private Cheeseman in Dad's Army, 1973, when he was 51 years old. Cheeseman is a mild-mannered, slightly timid war correspondent who joins the platoon following the departure of Private Walker. Though not as streetwise as his predecessor, Cheeseman adds his own blend of polite curiosity and nervous energy, offering comic contrast to the more dominant personalities. With his distinctive Welsh accent and twitchy mannerisms, Talfran Thomas gave Cheeseman an instantly recognizable charm. Thomas had previously trained as an architect before turning to acting after World War II, in which he served as a flight mechanic in the RAF and survived a serious crash. He became a familiar face in British television, especially in quirky or eccentric roles, appearing in Doctor Who, Survivors, and The Ghosts of Motley Hall. He passed away suddenly from a heart attack on November 4, 1982, at the age of 60. His short run on Dad's Army is fondly remembered for its warmth and humanity. Ronnie Brody portrayed Bob in Dad's Army, 1973, when he was 53 years old. Bob appears in the episode The Recruit, working alongside Hodges and Reverend Farthing to help cover roles in the Home Guard during a staff shortage. Though a minor character, Brody gave the role a familiar warmth and comedic rhythm. Known for his short, rotund frame and expressive face, Ronnie Brody was a prolific character actor in British comedy. His screen career spanned several decades, appearing in shows like The Benny Hill Show, Are You Being Served?, and Allo Allo, often playing supporting comic roles. Brody's presence added energy and charm, even in brief appearances. In real life, he was known for his dependable character work and good-natured humor. Ronnie Brody passed away on May 8, 1991, at the age of 71. Though his time on Dad's Army was brief, he was part of a generation of actors who gave depth to the golden age of British sitcoms. Averil Angers portrayed Frida, the telephone operator in Dad's Army, 1969, when she was 51 years old. Frida appears briefly in the episode A Brush with the Law, where her role as a flustered, fast-talking operator adds a moment of frantic wartime bureaucracy to the chaos. Averil Angers was one of Britain's first female stand-up comedians and a lively presence on stage and screen. Known for her quick wit, comic timing, and impeccable energy, she transitioned to acting with ease, appearing in Coronation Street, Are You Being Served?, and several stage reviews. In Dad's Army, her appearance was brief but memorable, a reminder of the women working behind the scenes during wartime. She continued acting well into her later years and was celebrated for paving the way for female comedians in Britain. Averil Angers passed away on November 9, 2005, at the age of 87. Her legacy lives on through her pioneering comedy and dynamic performances. Anthony Sharp portrayed a War Office brigadier in Dad's Army, 1969, when he was 54 years old. The brigadier appears in the episode The Lion Has Phones, where he represents the High Command overseeing Home Guard communications. Sharp delivered the role with clipped precision and haughty detachment, a classic upper-class military man baffled by Mainwaring's ineptitude. Known for his refined diction and aristocratic bearing, Anthony Sharp was often cast as judges, generals, and civil servants. He worked extensively in British theatre, film, and television, with notable roles in Barry Lyndon and A Clockwork Orange. Off-screen, he was also a director and scriptwriter. He passed away on July 23, 1984, at the age of 69. In Dad's Army, Sharp's cameo perfectly captured the clash between officialdom and the chaotic charm of the local platoon. Fulton McCay portrayed Captain Ramsey in Dad's Army, 1973, when he was 50 years old. Captain Ramsey appears in the episode We Know Our Onions, where he leads a rival Home Guard platoon that clashes with Mainwaring's men in a competition. Ramsey is stern, professional, and a stickler for rules. The very image of military competence that Mainwaring aspires to but can never quite achieve. Fulton McCay played him with tight-lipped precision and commanding presence. Best known for his role as prison officer Mr. McCay in Porridge, McCay had a rich career in theater, television, and film. He was also a playwright and a former Royal Navy serviceman. His talent for blending authority with understated humor made him a perfect fit for roles like Ramsey. He died on June 10, 1987, at the age of 64, from stomach cancer. His Dad's Army role, though small, showcased the sharpness and gravitas he brought to every performance. Alex Makavoy portrayed the sergeant in Dad's Army, 1972, when he was 44 years old. In the episode Keep Young and Beautiful, Makavoy plays a no-nonsense regular Army sergeant who inspects the Home Guard. His character highlights the professional standards the volunteer platoon can never quite meet. Makavoy's performance was brief but sharp, with understated authority and a hint of dry Scottish wit. A respected stage and screen actor from Glasgow, Makavoy was best known internationally for his role as the sadistic schoolteacher in Pink Floyd, The Wall, 1982. He had a strong presence in both drama and comedy, often playing teachers, sergeants, and tough Scots. He passed away on June 16, 2005, at the age of 77. Though his Dad's Army appearance was short, it demonstrated the show's knack for casting strong character actors who could elevate a single scene. Barbara Windsor portrayed Laura LaPlace in Dad's Army, 1968, when she was 31 years old. Laura LaPlace is a cheeky, glamorous cabaret performer mistaken by Mainwaring for a spy in the episode Museum Piece. With her trademark sparkle and Cockney charm, Windsor brought a burst of energy to the screen, playing off the uptight male characters to comic effect. Already a rising star in the Carry On films, Windsor became an icon of British comedy and later achieved lasting fame as Peggy Mitchell in EastEnders. She was awarded an MBE in 2000 for her contributions to drama. Barbara Windsor battled Alzheimer's disease for several years and became a campaigner for dementia awareness before her death on December 10, 2020, at the age of 83. Her short but memorable Dad's Army role is a vivid reminder of her screen charisma and impeccable timing. Carmen Sylla portrayed Mrs. Fiona Gray in Dad's Army, 1970, when she was 48 years old. Mrs. Gray appears in Mum's Army, one of the show's most poignant episodes. As a graceful, intelligent widow who joins the Home Guard's auxiliary unit, she forms a quiet, romantic connection with Captain Mainwaring. Sylla portrayed her with elegance and warmth, creating one of the few moments in the series where Mainwaring reveals emotional vulnerability. Carmen Sylla is best known for playing Edith Artois in the sitcom Allo Allo, where her comedic skills and stage presence shone brightly. A classically trained actress, she also worked in repertory theater and dramatic television. She passed away on August 3, 2002, at the age of 80, after a battle with cancer. Her performance in Dad's Army added rare emotional depth and remains a fan-favorite moment. Who's your favorite character from Dad's Army? It's always tough to say goodbye to beloved cast members who are no longer with us. How does that make you feel? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you're enjoying our content, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated. We appreciate having you in our community.